Welcome back once again for another SnowRunner truck review. Today we're going to take a look at a truck that isn't very popular, yet it has been silently getting better since day one launch. So before we start, I ask that you please help support the channel by liking the video and subscribing to the channel as well. Alright, so without further ado, let's jump into this and check it out. Produced by the Minsk automobile plant during the late 50s, the MAZ 500 series full production did not start until 1965. This truck was a cab-over design, which was different than the conventional MAZ 200 series layout. The cab-over allowed for increased payloads and a reduction in overall vehicle weight as well as fuel consumption. Being highly versatile for many different jobs, this vehicle went through modernizations during the 70s for vehicle improvements. In SnowRunner, the MAZ 500 series is the Zikz 5368. The 5368 is a much different experience compared to other vehicles in its class. It can be very challenging to use as we will learn, yet it feels very enjoyable to do big things with a small truck. So, without wasting any more time, the base stats will be on your screen, but we're jumping right into downside number 1, it desperately needs upgrades. First off, we have to mention upgrades, because we all look to have the best equipped on our trucks. While the Zikz does have all-wheel drive upon buying it, there are just some upgrades it needs badly. A lot of these upgrades are not found until exploring Taimyr, but the largest engine is found in the Yukon. In short, this truck just needs all of those upgrades to be competitive. Downside number 2, small fuel tank. In comparison to the other off-road 4x4s, it does have a pretty good fuel capacity, but overall it's really small. It does do pretty well with fuel consumption though. However, to sustain engine time in this vehicle, you're going to have support to keep it topped off. Downside number 3, small tires. As a 4x4, again, its tire size isn't too bad, yet anything that's 47 inches and under would be considered a smaller tire in my opinion. I do think that 47 inches would be the maximum tire height this thing could equip on it realistically. So this downside isn't that big of a showstopper, especially with the addition of the raised suspension. Downside number 4, it's bouncy and steering. Oh yeah, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. First, we have to cover the bouncy nature of the Zikz. Throughout the video, you probably can see that it does have a soft suspension, which is nice, but man is it hard to control sometimes. And this leads me to the steering. The 5368 has some of the sharpest steering angles I have ever seen, and I have saved myself from tipping with that quick, sharp steering. However, again, it's hard to move at fast paces with that short wheelbase, the power, and then that steering that wants to cut so sharply all the time. Overall, I don't think the high-range gearbox is a good idea because it just makes it harder to control. I recommend using the off-road or the fine-tuned gearbox for most of the 4x4s. Downside number 5, weight and wheel spin. In the 5368's defense, it is heavier than all the 4x4 off-roaders, yet it is still pretty lightweight. Sharing the same engine as the KRS Bandit, having 2 less axles, and being lighter weight means it's going to wheel spin a lot. Again, this is why I am an advocate of the slower paced gearboxes to mitigate this downside as much as you can. Downside number 6, mediocre stability and durability. To be frank, the stability isn't good, especially without the balloon tires, yet with them, the truck is more stable to a degree. The balloons will help with lateral stability, but when your truck is listing to one side and you need to turn into the tip to save yourself, the balloons just don't bite into the terrain as much as other options do. Still, I would use the option to add more stability, which is the AMHS tire, which also I call the balloon tires. Also, I must mention that it does feel a tad bit front heavy and will nosedive into mud pits, so just be prepared for that. Durability, on the other hand, is lacking to the point where some Scouts and highway trucks are comparable. Overall, the 4x4s aren't the best when it comes to durability. Downside number 7, can't utilize some add-ons. I haven't showcased any of the larger add-ons that the Zikz can equip, and it's for my own mental health. A lot of those add-ons are just way too large on the Zikz, and you can tell right away when setting off that this isn't going to be a pleasant journey. I won't go into too much detail on this, but I think the newer, smaller add-ons shown in the video is where this truck feels most comfortable. And finally, coming in at downside number 8, heavy cargo and sporadic performance. Although rather powerful, the Zikz struggles with heavier loads, and its performance seems somewhat sporadic as well. Most of my tests with heavy cargo, I felt stuck in low gear, throttled down just to keep moving along. The balloon tires aren't the most grippy, yet they do allow the truck to continue to crawl. However, I felt it struggled in deeper areas under loads. Alright, so after 8 downsides, I think we're ready to hear some good news now. So, here are the pros for the Zikz 5368. Starting off the upsides list at the number 1 spot, good power, all-wheel drive, and differential locking. The first combination of weaponry the 5368 has is a shared engine with few trucks that do quite well. The engine with the switchable features allows for more driver choice upon activation, yet like I always say, differential locking always on would increase overall performances. Upside number 2, upgraded tires. The Zikz didn't always have the large balloon tires. Its tire set used to max out at the UODs, which was an off-road tire, but then Sabre upgraded it to the large tires you see now. Even though they are only 47 inches, they are quite large for the vehicle size and add stability, which is needed as we have explained. Overall, I think this kept the Zikz on par with the other 4x4s in its class, so yeah, it's a welcomed addition. Upside number 3, fuel consumption. In short, under load you will see these values come up, but overall it doesn't use too much fuel. I actually expected terrible consumption, yet I'm glad its burn values are pretty good. However, I still wouldn't trust this vehicle for long, difficult hauls without support. Upside number 4, it's the most versatile 4x4. As we have learned, most of its add-ons are realistically unusable. Nevertheless, the Zikz still has more add-on options than all the other 4x4s in its class. It is quite nice knowing that it can be used to fulfill more roles than a scout support vehicle, or a fuel truck. Upside number 5, it's surprisingly capable. We've beat up the Zikz pretty good on the downsides list, but honestly, the vehicle has surprised me in a lot of areas. One place I think the 5368 could be utilized well is in the Kola Peninsula. Kola is not necessarily cargo heavy. Most of its tasks and contracts are just delivering 1 to 2 pieces of cargo. With a crane and a small sideboard bed, I believe this vehicle could handle its own. Also, in the footage, you can see that it can move some heavy cargo, although it's not necessarily going to be at fast, rapid paces. And finally, coming in at upside number 6, it's very affordable. Compared to a lot of other vehicles, the Zikz is very affordable. Having stock all-wheel drive compared to some other early trucks in the game, the 5368 can be used in various roles, especially supporting other vehicles. If you bought this truck at an affordable price and purely kept it stock and only upgraded its tires to 42-inch balloons, this truck could be a nice addition to a starting fleet. This could be a stretch here, but I think it could supplement scouting operations, support other vehicles, and perhaps be used if needed to hack the mission. Alright, so moving on to my personal ratings for this truck. For power, it shares a similar engine with other trucks that have good pulling power. For terrain navigation, a rating of 2. Even with the race suspension option and the balloon tires, it doesn't take terrain as good as I would like to see. With how hard this truck is to drive, I think most drivers would have difficulty, but it is still enjoyable. For aesthetics, I'm coming around to the cab overs, so I feel this one looked pretty good as well. Stability is better with those balloon tires, and the suspension seems very soft. However, it does bounce off balance more than I would like to see. The 5368's small fuel tank hurt this score, yet its consumption values saved it from being a 1. Even though it has trouble using all of its add-ons, it still has more options than all the other 4x4s. Lightweight, power, and wheel spin tells the tale on this truck's lacking grip. So in conclusion, the Zikz 5368 is an interesting truck with challenges mainly due to being a 4x4 and some other things we discussed in those downsides. Overall, I think it's a very enjoyable vehicle to play when it decides it wants to perform. It's a very maneuverable truck, and its sharp steering, if utilized well, can save your tipping more often than you think. In the early parts of the game, this could be a great support vehicle until you get its upgrades from Tamir and also the Yukon. However, being that it's not such a great vehicle, fully upgraded during the early game would make it more appealing to drivers. The 5368 does have good power, upgraded tires, and more add-ons than the rest of the off-road 4x4s. Even though I don't think it's going to be your everyday workhorse do-it-all truck, the Zikz can be a great addition to add to your garage, and it's very affordable as well. In closing, the 5368, in my opinion, is a great vehicle just to try something different. It's overshadowed by most vehicles in the game, but I think in silence it does a great job for what it is. Try this one out and let me know what you think. I hope this review gave you a fresh, new perspective of the Zikz 5368. Please smash that like button. Definitely share this video with someone who is currently struggling with the game, and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content. Hope y'all have a wonderful day, God bless, and stay upright.